This episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Fallout 76. How the official Marvel timeline finally fixes the MCU. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around for a decade now, spanning over 20 films and made by dozens of different writers, directors, and producers. Seriously, the kid who played Ralphie from A Christmas Story produced the first Iron Man. Look it up. Gonna be honest, did not know that till I read it in the prompter, and woo, I am shocked! And also 2 thumbs up, Ralphie. With that many cooks making a shared universe soup, at least a few continuity errors have bubbled up over the years. But for those of you that need your Marvel timeline to be as flawless as Captain America's beard, the House of Ideas has released an official timeline of the MCU films up to this year's Avengers Infinity War. Now, the timeline was included in the book Marvel Studios' The First 10 Years, which hits bookstores this week. And though the book can't fix the weird Spider-Man Homecoming time gap where a graphic in Homecoming says that the film took place 8 years after the Battle of New York, even though it clearly took place 4 years after that, it retcons most of the MCU's time inconsistencies. So let's break it down. As you'd expect, the World War II film Captain America: The First Avenger takes place from 1943 to 1945, which was the year that World War II ended and Steve Rogers became an ice cube for a few decades. Now, the first Iron Man film had its timeline shifted up a little bit. The film was released in 2008 and it seemingly took place in that same year, but according to the official timeline, it now takes place in 2010, putting it a little closer to the events of Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor, all of which take place in 2011. As has been well established, the first Avengers film still takes place in 2012, with Iron Man 3 taking place that same year. Iron Man 3 was the first film of Marvel's Phase 2, and it largely deals with the fallout of the Avengers, so keeping them close together makes sense. And of course, the MCU's one critical miss, Thor: The Dark World, takes place in 2013. Next up in the timeline is 2014, a year when big things were happening in the galaxy and on the ground. This is the year that Captain America: The Winter Soldier and both Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 take place. Seems a little at odds in terms of tone, but hey, because comics. The next year, 2015, is when Avengers: Age of Ultron and Ant-Man take place, both of which helped to set up the Sokovia Accords and would lead into the upcoming inter-Avenger fight. And moving right along to 2016, which is when that major Avengers rift between Team Cap and Team Stark takes place in Captain America: Civil War. Spider-Man: Homecoming also takes place in 2016, and really, this is the film that's at the center of this timeline reorganizing. Again, that graphic in Homecoming that incorrectly states that the film takes place 8 years after the Battle of New York really did throw a wrench into what we all thought was our flawless understanding of the MCU timeline. So we're glad to see Homecoming placed here in the timeline 4 years after the Battle of New York and within the same year that Spidey gets recruited for the Avengers, making his first appearance among the feuding superhero team in that big airport throwdown. 2016 through 2017 is when Doctor Strange takes place, which some people are already considering a plot hole, as we heard Stephen Strange's name mentioned as a threat to Hydra in 2014 by way of the Winter Soldier and Agent Sitwell. That's right, you say. This would be before he got his powers. But keep in mind that Zola's algorithm, the top secret data tech that Project Insight was using to select its targets, was able to identify anyone who could be a threat now or in the future. So yes, Stephen Strange wasn't all superpowered when Sitwell named him as one of Insight's targets, but Zola's algorithm was able to see his potential for fucking up some in the future. Plus, he was a rich, world-renowned surgeon at the top of his game during that time in 2014, so either way, plot hole filled. 2017 brings us into Wakanda, the year when Black Panther takes place. Even though the film came out in 2018, Black Panther starts with T'Challa heading home to Wakanda after the events of Captain America: Civil War. So its place in the timeline here makes a lot of sense. Also taking place in 2017 are Thor: Ragnarok and Avengers: Infinity War. Thor: Ragnarok explains what happens to Hulk and Thor when they both go missing during Captain America: Civil War. And of course, Avengers: Infinity War gets the gang back together, only to have them lose badly to one purple maniac named Thanos. As for Ant-Man and the Wasp or Captain Marvel, both of which didn't make it on the timeline, we've heard that Captain Marvel will take place in 1995, and as for the microscopic duo, its end credits scenes place it firmly around the snappening. Unless there is more going on with the quantum realm, then we know.
Ha ha, very funny.
So this official MCU timeline doesn't necessarily fix the Homecoming Battle of New York mistake, but it does clear things up in a major way and give us some more info going into Captain Marvel and Avengers 4. But what do you folks think? Does having an official timeline affect your Marvel movie enjoyment, or does it not matter when exactly these films take place? Are you going to do another Marvel movie rewatch with this new timeline? And are you also sick of hearing about plot holes that aren't really plot holes? Let's discuss. Thank you again to Fallout 76 for sponsoring today's episode. 25 years after the bombs fell, it's time to emerge from your vault and get to rebuilding America. Fallout 76 is out now, featuring a huge open-world environment to explore. Create your own custom character to survive the unforgiving terrain of post-nuclear war West Virginia with or against your companions around you. Fallout 76 is out now, available on Xbox One and worldwide on all platforms.